For over 50 years, one of the most epic and haunting tracks in rock history has been celebrated for its raw power, its mind-blowing vocal performance, and its 10-minute-long dive into musical darkness. It's a song that feels ancient, almost mythical, a testament to the band at its absolute peak of its creative powers. We all know it, we all love it, and we all crank it up when we hear it. But you only know half the story, and now with Stranger Things featuring the track in their trailer for season 5 of the show, a whole new generation is about to experience it for the first time. For over 50 years, this song has been the soundtrack for countless road trips and late night hangouts. It's a rock and roll anthem, plain and simple. But what if I told you that buried beneath those powerful chords and soaring vocals is a chilling message about nuclear anxiety and the loss of innocence right in the heart of the Cold War? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the secret that Ian Gillan embedded in this rock classic. By 1970, Deep Purple had already released 3 studio albums, starting in 1968, which featured vocalist Rod Evans and bassist Nick Simper. The band unexpectedly broke into the US charts with their energetic, organ-heavy rendition of Joe South's Hush, showcasing their early blend of psychedelic rock influences. Ahead of the group issuing their 4th album, titled Deep Purple and Rock, change was on the horizon. Founding members guitarist Ritchie Blackmore and keyboardist John Lord, as well as drummer Ian Pace, began to feel that the group was creatively adrift, believing that their current direction was too unfocused and that Evans and Simper weren't the right fit to push the band forward. Eager for revitalization, they sought new talent, and this search led them to Episode 6 frontman Ian Gillan and his bandmate and songwriting partner, bassist Roger Glover. Both were welcomed into the fold, setting the stage for one of rock's most influential lineups. Reflecting on his introduction to the band, Glover later described his amazement of working with such outstanding musicians, stating, "They weren't just good, they were brilliant." By 1970, Deep Purple put out their 4th record, Deep Purple and Rock, and with it, they unleashed a monster. The album was a sonic declaration of war, a sharp turn from their earlier psychedelic stuff into a more heavier, aggressive sound that would help define hard rock and heavy metal for decades. And the crown jewel of this masterpiece was a track that was so ambitious, so sprawling, it felt less like a song and more like an epic poem that was set to music. I'm of course talking about the song Child in Time. The song was the 2nd track written for their 4th album. It took inspiration from a band named It's a Beautiful Day and their song Bombay Calling. It's a Beautiful Day had actually played with Deep Purple in the States. In a cool, unwritten agreement, It's a Beautiful Day then borrowed a Deep Purple riff for one of their own songs, a musical trade that says a lot about the collaborative spirit of that era. Organist John Lord had started playing Bombay Calling, which the band then rearranged and changed the structure of. Gillan had never heard the original song, and he created the lyrics about the Cold War to fit the music, later remarking that it reflected the mood of the moment. At over 10 minutes long, Child in Time was completely different from anything else on radio. It was, and still is, a monumental piece of music. It kicks off with John Lord's ghostly, melancholic organ riff, a sound that immediately sets a somber, almost funeral-like tone. Then Ian Gillan's voice comes in, soft and mournful, before the song slowly and methodically builds into one of the most legendary and demanding vocal performances ever recorded. Gillan's voice climbs higher and higher, escalating from a sad lament into a full-blown banshee-like scream that still gives listeners chills decades later. Throw in Ritchie Blackmore's virtuistic guitar solo and the thunderous rhythm section of Roger Glover and Ian Pace, and the song became a live spectacle. The meaning of the song, however, seemed abstract, maybe a general comment on good versus evil, or just a backdrop for the band's incredible chops. But the truth is far more specific and way more terrifying. The song wasn't just about some vague darkness, it was about a very real, very present fear that really defined the era where it came from. To get the true hidden meaning of Child in Time, we have to go back to the world of the late 60s. This was the peak of the Cold War. The world was split between two nuclear superpowers, the US and the Soviet Union, and the threat of total annihilation wasn't just some far-off idea. It was a daily anxiety. Kids practiced duck and cover drills in school, some families built fallout shelters, and the culture was soaked in a sense of impending doom and anxiety. The constant simmering tension, the feeling that the world could just end at any second, was the key to the whole song. Gillan had been pretty direct about this. He said the song was created, and I quote, using the Cold War as the theme, adding, the words came easily because we were all aware of the nuclear threat looming over us at what was probably the height of the Cold War. It wasn't just a song, it was a reflection of the time, a way of channeling collective fear into music. With that context, the lyrics suddenly snap into terrifying focus. Gillan added that while a lot of musicians wrote about the Cold War, they all shared one thing in common, with him adding, a lot of songs were written along that base, but you never tried to be too literal with a song. You never tried to say, it's going to blow me up and kill me. You try and be poetic if you can. The song also reflected an ongoing music rivalry between Ritchie Blackmore and Jon Lord, each eager to showcase their own instrumental solos. Glover noted that the band's focus at the time was heavily on the instrumental performances, sometimes giving the impression that the vocals were merely an afterthought or an addition to the main musicianship. Gillan, as the lead vocalist, often really felt caught between the dominant personalities of Blackmore and Lord, especially when it came to decisions about the song's key. Despite repeatedly raising concerns that certain keys were too high for his voice, he was expected to simply adapt and sing higher, resulting in his vocals becoming progressively more demanding. The song opens with one of the most famous lines in the Deep Purple catalog. Sweet child in time, you'll see the... On the surface, it's about growing up, but in the shadow of the Cold War, it's more specific for a generation losing its innocence. The child could be interpreted as a metaphor for a world that was forced to face a horrifying new moral complexity, where the line between right and wrong was blurred by political ideology and the threat of mutually assured destruction. But it's the next verse that holds the song's most chilling and revealing metaphor. This isn't about a literal blind man. The blind man is a symbol for the senseless, indiscriminate nature of modern warfare. It doesn't distinguish between soldiers and civilians, guilty or innocent. It's about a force of random, uncontrollable chaos shooting at the world with no clear target, only devastation. The bullets flying represent the uncontrollable consequence. The fallout will hit everyone no matter where they are, where they live, no matter who they are, or what they believe. The lyrics then give a dark warning. This speaks directly to the Cold War idea of escalation and retaliation. In a world where every nation has sinned or taken part in conflict, nobody is truly safe. Even if you aren't the main target, you'd better wait for the ricochet, the political, social, and literal fallout or blowback that was bound to follow any major showdown. It's a message of fatalism, an admission that in a nuclear world, everyone is vulnerable. This new understanding of the lyrics completely reframes the music itself. The song structure is a perfect mirror of its Cold War theme. It doesn't just describe anxiety, it sonically creates it as well. That 10-minute runtime isn't the band showing off, it's a slow burning fuse. The track starts with a quiet, uneasy organ that represents a world living in a fragile peace, a tense quiet before the storm. As Gillan's vocals start to climb, so does that tension. The escalation from his soft and mournful delivery to those legendary piercing screams isn't just a vocal flex, it's the sound of rising panic and tensions of a world screaming in the face of its own political end. Gillan once called singing the song less of a performance and more of an Olympic event because it was so physically draining. That physical strain you hear is pure raw terror being channeled through his voice. The song's climax of Blackmore's frantic, chaotic guitar solo is the musical version of the bomb dropping, the moment that all that built-up tension explodes into raw chaos. But Gillan's vocal performance remains the song's emotional core. His screams became so iconic, they were almost impossible to pull off night after night on tour. Eventually, around the age of 38, he realized he couldn't perform the song to his own standard anymore, and rather than do it badly, he decided to retire it from live shows for good in 2002. The song that captured the anxieties of a generation was, in the end, too demanding to sustain. What's funny is that Gillan wasn't happy with his vocal performance in the studio on the song and wanted to go back and re-record it, but his bandmates wouldn't have any of it as they were impressed with the end result. For decades, Child in Time has been worshipped as a heavy metal anthem and as an art rock masterpiece. Its influence is huge, with musicians like Metallica drummer Lars Ulrich calling it a life-changing song. But its story isn't over. In a move that has introduced this Cold War epic to a whole new audience, a retooled version of Child in Time was featured in the trailer for the 5th and final season of Netflix blockbuster show Stranger Things. It's really a perfect fit if you think about it. Stranger Things is a show dripping with 80s nostalgia and Cold War paranoia. It's become famous for resurrecting classic songs and giving them new life, just like it did for Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill and Metallica's Master of Puppets. The show's story about a group of kids facing a world-ending threat lines up perfectly with the song's themes of incoming disaster, as well as lost innocence. The final battle for Hawkins, a town under military quarantine and facing an unstoppable darkness, finds its perfect soundtrack in a song born from the exact same kind of dread. Now, a generation that didn't grow up with the fear of the bomb is experiencing the song's chilling power for the first time, proving that its message of anxiety in the face of the unknown is truly timeless. So the next time you hear that haunting organ intro, remember what's hiding underneath. Child in Time isn't just a stunning piece of music, it's a historical document. It's a time capsule holding all the fear, anxiety, and moral confusion of the Cold War delivered with a powerful but important passion that remains unmatched. It's a protest song about the futility of conflict, a lament for lost innocence, and a chilling reminder of a time when the world stood on razor's edge. The line between good and bad, the blind man shooting at the world, the terrifying wait for the ricochet, it was never just poetry, it was a chilling reality for a generation, immortalized in one of the greatest rock songs ever written. The secret was hiding in plain sight all along, just waiting for us to see the line. What other rock songs do you think have a secret message we've all missed? Let me know your theories down in the comments section, and for more deep dives into the hidden stories of rock and roll, be sure to check out our other videos. That does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again in Rock and Roll True Stories. Take care.